Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Missouri deer season is just around the corner. In fact, we are just barely more than 24 hours away. So, I've made up 30 shells in the caliber .308, and the bullets you see are 178 grain Hornady ELD-X. I believe it's supposed to stand for extreme long distance expanding. I don't intend to shoot from extreme long distance, but I like the heavier bullet weight and I like the looks of the expansion. Those bullets are sitting on top of some Varget powder. I'm not going to tell you exactly how much because I feel like you should work up your own load. I will tell you it's less than the max in my book. My book shows the max to be 45 grains. I will tell you it's less than that. I had very good grouping with it. The brass is Lake City brass. It's not sorted by year. Someday I hope to have enough Lake City brass that I can sort it out all by year and use all the same year for, say, 30 shells like this. But right now I only have a couple hundred pieces of Lake City brass. I like the Lake City brass for a shell like this. It's sturdy brass. I'm going to use these for hunting. I don't know that sturdiness matters a whole lot until the brass gets later in its life, but I just like the feel of it in my press. And also it seems to be really consistent. I really haven't done any measurements. Primers are just a standard CCI large rifle primer. I do shoot a semi-auto. It's not an AR-10. It's an old Remington. I believe it's Remington 7400 with the 4-round magazine, semi-auto. It's a decent rifle. It certainly isn't that accurate. I'd much prefer to shoot a bolt action for accuracy. That thing, it's minute a deer at a couple hundred yards, really. And I've never got it shooting better than that. And I know it's not probably just me because I've shot my 223. I've shot a lot more accurate than that, but that's expected, less recoil. Also, my dad's 30-06 I've shot a lot more accurately than I ever have my .308. It's a heavy trigger. I don't think it's a real accurate gun to begin with. Combine those two, and you get something that's minute a deer at 200 yards, and that's about as good as you're ever going to do with it. But right now, it's what I have to deer hunt with, so I've made some shells for it. These are pretty long. I'm not going to tell you the exact length because, frankly, I don't remember it. They're as long as will feed reliably in my semi-auto .308. Obviously, if you're using a bolt action, you might be able to go longer, especially if you're willing to single feed them. But I believe the bolt action magazines tend to be a little bit more accommodating of the longer shells than the semi-auto magazines. So you might be able to lengthen them out a bit. One thing that would do in these Lake City brass especially is allow you to maybe, increase your grains of powder up to the max. It is Varget powder. I do believe it's compressible, but I try not to do compressed charges if I can avoid it. So once I start hearing that powder crunch, I know that's pretty much my limit. And these you can. These are just enough powder. Bullets has to be seated short enough that there's a little bit of a crunch just when I seat the bullet. It's not anything extreme, not like I'm really having to put any effort into it, or not like it's a long, drawn-out crunch, but it's a short crunch. That powder squeezing together a little bit, so maybe this is a little bit of a compressed load. Let me know your opinion in the comments. These primer pockets, of course, being Lake City, had to be swaged prior to putting new primer in there. Can't see, I don't think, probably anything. Yeah, it's a pretty good camera, but you're not going to be able to see much there. It smooths it out a bit. To do that, I used my RCBS primer pocket swager, which I hook up here to my Lee 4-hole turret press. Definitely not in that configuration. You need to take the index rod out, this plastic piece. There's a screw over here on the other side. You unscrew that, it comes off. You take off your shell holder, of course. You take out your primer arm. then you replace, there's a little nubbin that the primer pocket sits on. There's a rod up there at the top, and it smushes it, is about all it does. But one thing on these turret presses is the normal apparatus they give you to eject the shell when you bring it back down, because you have to bring it down with force, it will eject the shell. That doesn't work on these Lee turret presses. So a fella from over at Mighty Armory sent me a tool, and I'm going to grab it for you folks and show you what he sent me. And I don't remember what he called it, so this is why actually last night I thought about making a video on it. I was kind of tired, so I didn't, but it's what the fella from Mighty Armory sent me. I'm going to compare that here on my table next to what comes with it. Now, I've got a hose clamper in it because that's what I was doing before I had this from the Mighty Armory folks. This was, before I had this, my only choice was to, and it can't be all the way on there because the problem is it's this part, it doesn't fit over this without the shell holder and the primer pocket swager and the indexing parts removed. This hole does not fit over the top of this. Oh, this hole in there does not fit over the top of this. So I used a hose clamp, gave me just enough to get over the top of it. But, you know, tightened it onto here, but the idea was it came down, hit that, ejected the case. Mighty Armory makes this universal apparatus. I think it works on about any press. Certainly works on the Lee turret press. Not very expensive from what I remember either. Well worth the investment. It's how I swage these primer pockets. And I had a few of them to do. 30. I've still got another 70 more to do. That's about how I want to make about 100 rounds of this. This is 30. Oh, as far as the swager, RCBS swager die goes, that's the top of it. There's a little, you know, the rod I was talking about. This doesn't size or anything like that. That rod just goes down in the middle of your casing. Goes down the middle of your casing and then lets. And then this little nubbin, that's what the primer pocket is sitting on. That's squeezed up in there. It scoots some of the brass out of the way so that your new primer will seat right in there. I have noticed that on 308 it works real well. My primers don't hang up at all. I go to seat them, they seat. No problems. 223 has not been the same experience for me. This works really good on 308. 223, I still have primers hanging up. I'm able to get them in, but I have to force them a little bit. I'd rather not force anything in reloading. If I force something, probably means I'm doing something wrong. But sometimes that's the only way it's going to happen. Again, I was talking about the Primer's Pocket Swager Tool 2 by RCBS. It's a little expensive, but if you shoot a lot of military brass, it'll pay for itself in no time. Those Hornady ELD-X bullets, that's a box right there. They've come out. Yes. So these bullets are the Hornady ELD-X Extreme Low Drag. So not long distance, low drag expanding. 30 caliber, 308, 178 grain ELD-X twist rate 1 in 12. Features amp jackets. 100. They give some ballistic coefficients down there. I don't really know what those mean. I'll be honest. Amp jacket. I thought there was a logo on here about the amp jacket. Oh, that may be on the new box. They've come out with a new design for the boxes. I've got some of these. Also good bullets, but expensive. 22 VMAX by Hornady. The amp. Something special about the amp jacket. I don't remember what it is. It's a, you know, it bonds it. Maybe not a bonder, but something like that. Oh, but here's the thing about this 22 caliber 50 grain VMAXs. They are allegedly, and I don't have any way of verifying this, exactly the doggone same bullet as the 22 caliber 224 50 grain Z-Max Zombie Max bullet. These you can get 500 for so I think I paid about $40 for a box of 250 of those. $40. I believe I paid 65-ish, probably 65-ish after some shipping for that box of 500. So a lot better off buying 500 Z-Max. They're just got a green tip. Those have a red tip, green tip, red tip, green tip, red tip. The thing about the green tips is they're supposed to be the exact same bullet, just with the green tip as that. And the 22 caliber 50 grain VMAX, known to be a great varmint round, loaded up, I believe, in a lot of factory ammunition. Fiocchi, I believe they load some of this, some of the 50 grain VMAXs into some of their shells. I think Hornady does, which is no surprise since they make the bullets. They load some of those 50 grain VMAXs. Now in the Z-Max Hornady bullets, the Hornady Zombie Max shells, I've actually only ever seen the 55 grain. But maybe they make a factory 50 grain round with these bullets, or maybe they just make they manufacture these bullets for reloading. I think there's some other companies that use the 50 grain VMAX. I know that on gunbroker.com I've seen people sell reloads of those. And I can tell you one thing. I don't think I would ever shoot anybody else's reloads. I'm even nervous of small factory ammunition, which I know doesn't allow. If everybody was nervous of ammunition coming from small factories, there would never be any other ammunition manufacturers other than our Remington, our Winchester, you know, the big ones. So you got to give the small guys a chance, but some guy like me doing it here on his Lee turret press, and he just doesn't have a lot to do and has a lot of time to make a whole bunch of these to sell them on Gunbroker. I gotta be honest, unless I've shot them and worked up the load in my rifle, I'd be awful goddamn nervous. I hope that the people selling these loaded shells, and a lot of times they'll come in a box like this. It'll look just like this. This is what their Gunbroker photo will look like. They'll just give you a photo of the shells. Of course, they'd probably sell 50 at a time. Give you a photo of the closed box, and instead of my nice masking tape and Sharpie, they will have some pre-printed logos, probably a pre-printed seal of some sort that goes over it, you know, so you can, looks official. They'll come in these plastic boxes. You can buy them on gunbroker.com, buy your loaded ammunition with some of the more extravagant bullets. Some of them I've even seen will show you what type of powder and how much they're using. One thing I definitely verify, if it tells you how much, what powder, what bullet, I look in a reloading manual and make sure it's within the, well within the tolerances, you know, well below maximum. Case overall length, of course, you'd have to check when you did that. But, yeah, there are people selling reloads